8 mistakes to avoid at all costs when getting back in shape on the clarinet. In my opinion, mistakes number 7 and 8 will be the most important ones, at least for me. It might be for you too, so make sure to watch this video until the very end. So many of us have been doing a break over the summer. We didn't play our instrument for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, some 2 weeks, whatever, but we got out of shape. So now we need to get back in shape again, and I've listed the most important mistakes to completely avoid when getting back in shape. Let's dive straight in with number 1. Don't play on the old reeds. Okay, so if you go back now to playing with your clarinet, you open your case, there might be still some old reeds in your clarinet case from 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. Okay, those reeds are no longer good now. They have been sitting, drying out, they were in the heat, and they will most probably close on you when you try to play on them. So you will get tense with your embouchure, and tension with the embouchure is something that you cannot use at all when getting back in shape. So make sure to open a new box of reeds. You can even go 1 strength down in the very first week. Because new reeds tend to be a little bit harder in the beginning, and you also don't have the stamina yet to play on your old reeds, the old reed strengths. So make sure to go 1 strength down with the reeds, but use new reeds, because they tend to not close, and you can push air through your instrument, which will let you relax your lips. And we want to work a lot with relaxation in the first couple of weeks when getting back in shape. Number 2, playing too much in the first 7 days when getting back in shape. Okay, so it's very important to not overdo yourself, even if it feels very comfortable to play on the clarinet in the first day and in the second day, because your lips had so much time to relax over the summer. Don't go too long. Okay, so I would say for the very first day, 20 minutes is the absolute maximum. Second day, 20 minutes is an absolute maximum. And then you can go up and up and up with the time that you practice. But don't dive straight in the very first day, and just because it feels comfortable, play for 1.5 hours, and then in the end, after 1.5 hours, be tense, and then not be able to get this tension out of the lips because you don't have the stamina for a couple of days or even a couple of weeks. Okay, so this can really be a deciding factor on how the next couple of weeks will go for you if you don't play too much in the very first days when you come back to the clarinet. Mistake number 3 is you practice repertoire directly. So you go straight into the excerpts, you go straight into the Mozart, you go straight into the Weber concerto, and you just play however you like. But this is not the right way to go about it. In the very first 7 days or even 2 weeks of getting back in shape, we want to focus as much as possible on the basics, on how does our tongue feel, how does our air support feel, how can we get rid of old habits. So going straight into repertoire and just focusing on reading notes with 90% of our brain power, and then 10% of our brain power is actually occupied with playing the clarinet. We would like to switch this around. So full focus on clarinet technique basics and less focus on repertoire. Repertoire will come later in 2 weeks, but not in the first 2 weeks of getting back in shape. Mistake number 4 is not paying attention to your embouchure. Okay, so many of us get bad habits in the embouchure and we stay with these bad habits for an entire year because we don't really have time, or it doesn't feel comfortable to change things up with the embouchure. Now, after a long break, this is your opportunity to now change things up with your embouchure and finally get it right. Okay, so for example, some people have the habit to have the clarinet slightly a little bit to the right or slightly a little bit to the left in the embouchure. This is not ideal. It should ideally be perfectly centered, but usually during the year we don't really have the time to change around, to mess things up with the embouchure, so we just continue playing with a crooked embouchure. Okay, so now this is your time to change things up, to do it correctly, to watch yourself in the mirror, to put your clarinet in the mouth, lower lip a little bit in, upper lip curled a little bit against the teeth, and perfectly centered. You shouldn't ideally see too much lips to the outside, yeah, because if you put lips to the outside, then you're getting a lot of slow air. It slows the air down. When you curl the lips inwards, when you don't see the meaty part of the lips on the outside with your embouchure, then the air gets sped up artificially. This is because of an effect that the tongue goes into the correct tongue position automatically. This is like biological, because you curl your lips inwards rather than outwards. The tongue goes automatically into the right shape. So pay close attention to this when getting back in shape. Mistake number 5 is not paying attention to your articulation. Okay, so articulation is where many mistakes happen on the clarinet. So this is what many clarinetists get completely wrong and have many problems with. So it's just logical to, in the very first days, to watch everything very carefully. So when you play articulation, when you practice articulation, don't just take the most difficult articulated etudes that you find on the internet and start reading notes. Yeah, because that's all it is. You will read notes with 99% of your brain power, and 1% of your brain power will be occupied with thinking about articulation. Why don't just slow things down a bit and pay 100% attention with your brain to your articulation, to what the tongue is doing, okay? So, for example, to just on one note experiment with what is the tongue doing, what is the shape of the tongue, where is the tongue going on the reed, how hard does the tongue press on the reed, how does it feel to release the tongue from the reed, and where does the tongue go after it releases from the reed. Does it go down, does it go up, does it go like this? Yeah, to pay attention to all of these things, because we need brain capacity to pay attention to those things. And if we practice staccato etudes, with super difficult notes, we will not have this excess brain power to pay attention to what your tongue is actually doing. Mistake number 6 is you're not paying attention to your fingers. Yeah, the fingers is a very important part of clarinet technique as well. So they need to be somehow relaxed and nicely curved. Yeah, and many of us have very bad habits when it comes to finger technique on the clarinet. So sometimes we play with flat fingers and we just don't care anymore during the year because we don't really have time to now focus on curling the fingers. So when you get back in shape, this is your opportunity to pay attention to curled fingers and to be able to play each tone hole with control, and not like a robot, but maybe up, down, up, down, up, down, rather than just down, 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 and then up, 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 yeah? Rather than press, release, press, release, press, release. Everything with control, everything with a very tasteful movement of the fingers, yeah, to get less robotic and more controlled. Also important, the finger, the pinky finger of the right hand and the pinky finger of the left hand, to get accustomed to those 4 keys that they have to manage right here. Yeah, so I can recommend this one exercise. Around on these keys and to get really comfortable with them. To slow things down a little bit more, I also like to focus sometimes on just one finger at a time, to be super conscious on how it moves and which muscles are involved and how can I press the tone hole gently. Or syncopated rhythms with one finger. And so on. Number 7 mistake is that you're not using the breath builder when getting back in shape. So you haven't been using your air support muscles at all for the past couple of weeks. And now when you come back to the clarinet, your support muscles are weak. Your muscles of breathing in are weak, and your muscles of supporting the air, the out breath, are weak as well. Now, when we go to the clarinet with this weak support, we tend to overcompensate with our embouchure. And then our embouchure gets tense because our embouchure has to make up for the fact that we're not supporting the air while we're blowing. So it's crucial to be honest, you should do it every day, but especially in the first couple of weeks when getting back to the instrument, to train with the breath builder every day, and especially before you even touch your instrument, to warm up your support muscles. So the goal of the breath builder is basically to train your air support against resistance. And when you get really, really good at it, you will feel that you're not sucking the air in from here and not from here, but that all of the force pulling the air in is coming from your lower back, and it feels so easy and effortless. And there's a natural want for the air to stream in and to stream out at a natural pace. So that's basically the entire exercise with the breath builder, to facilitate the movement of the air inside of the lungs. Mistake number 8, and the most important one, you are not using Clarinet Masterclass to get back in shape. So Clarinet Masterclass is a program that I've designed for people, for clarinetists that want to get rid of all of their technical problems on the clarinet. So let's say you have been playing the clarinet already since 10 years and you still got your problems. You still got articulation problems, you still got problems with tone beginnings, you still got an airy sound, you still have problems with high notes. Yeah? You still have problems with air support, you can sustain long passages for as long as they should with the sound they should have. And all of those problems still exist because you are doing the same things over and over again for 10 years in a row. So in order for all of these things to go away, you should start doing new things. And I would recommend to you to start doing these new things together with my system, my #1 blueprint on becoming from good to great on the clarinet fast. Yeah, that's how I did it. That's everything I learned combined in one program. I would recommend you to do it together with this program and sign up right now. Only and only if you want to get rid of all of your technical problems on the clarinet. Yeah, there's a link down in the description. So one thing I will not do for you is I will not give you the best Brahms interpretation in the world. I will not give you the best interpretation for Galanta Dance's excerpt on the clarinet. But what I will do is I will get rid of your technical problems so that what you have in your head can actually come, and that your instrument will not be your opponent you're constantly fighting, but it will be just a tool to express what is already in your head from what you already want your instrument to sound like. What you hear will come. If this sounds like something for you, go to the link down in the description below and sign up right now.